Hello, everyone. A special greetings from Canadian National Health Campaign International Department team to all people around the world. Whoever would like to hear different views and perspective from the domain of natural medicine in order to overcome their health challenges naturally and effectively. So we are a group of volunteers here to share and answer to some of your answered questions and share our information with you. C.N.H.C, the Canadian National Health Campaign, started as a national grassroots non-political health and healing movement, and it was created for the purpose of raising health and well-being awareness to provide a much-needed learning environment for the public. Now we are expanding, evolving internationally. And we are committed to transmit the true knowledge, correct information, everything we know about philosophy of life principles, universal laws, natural laws, and healing ability and concept of cure in human beings. We already had 6 campaigns at the national level, and we covered almost 2 campaigns on mental health because it's a broad kind of topics, and people are so much suffering, especially the past 3 years with all this, whatever happened during this pandemic. And we have been reached out by so many people that they would like to know more about natural healing and natural treatments for this kind of conditions. So that's why some experts around the world are joining me today in this campaign, and I would like to ask them to take the floor and share their knowledge and answer your questions if you have, and share their views and perspective with you. Dr. Steve, I would like to pass it to you.
Okay, my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pravin.
You're welcome.
Mental health. We could not have taken in a broader topic. It's very widespread, and mental health is an international problem. Every country has their specifics, but mental health includes emotional, psychological, social well-being, has to do with the way we think, the way we act, the way we feel. Therefore, it is part of our life every single day and every single moment. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I will be talking in the field of aromatherapy from Switzerland. I am a naturopathic physician with a specialty in aroma science and clinical aromatherapy. I have been studying and playing around and working with aromatherapy for over 30 years. Now, when we talk about mental health, I basically in aromatherapy immediately think about the emotional side, because this is what essential oils do to help us. They help us work on the emotions. And when we talk about something that brings us out of balance, we just have to think about the American word for sickness, disease. We are not at ease with something that is going on within our body. That brings us to an emotional imbalance, and that also brings us definitely to a physical and physiological imbalance. That has a lot to do with our body, has a lot to do with our mind, and has a lot to do also with our hormone system. Now, essential oils, they've been passed down through the millenniums, way back. Now, when we think about essential oils, why are they called essential? Because they are the most intimate part of the plants, herbs, flowers, fruits, and they are part of a defense for the herbal world. but they also are a defense for our world. And I'm not going to talk about the physical, I'm going to be talking about mental. And we know that it has a great influence, and there's a lot of research out there today that says it has a very strong psychophysiological activity in our body, in our mind. And it is creating more and more interest throughout the scientific world, and that be it pharmacological or be it clinical. Now, when we talk about aromas, it's not something that we just smell. That's only a small part of it. The fragrance is just a very small part of it, because we have to think that essential oils are made up of many, many, many constituents. They go from anywhere from 40 to over 100. Now, how do these substances get in our body? This is the nice part. There are two different ways. They can get in by breathing, and they also can get in because the molecules are really, really, really tiny. And they can pass our skin barrier, they can pass our blood barrier in the brain, and they go and affect various different areas of our body. Now, when we talk about the areas, let's just really quickly think about one of the main areas that we do activate when we start just breathing. And breathing them means I'm walking down the street and I pass by a beautiful rose garden and I smell the perfume of roses. Now, I'm not only smelling the perfume of roses, I'm smelling other molecules that are part of the essential oil. And that will start triggering a part of my brain, which is called the limbic system, which has a lot to do with emotional modulation and release of neurochemicals and hormones. What do they do in our body? Well, they do many, many things. I work in hospitals and elderly home care systems where we work with the essential oils to work on emotional problems, behavioral problems. We work on Alzheimer's. We work on dementia. I work also with people with the multiple sclerosis, Parkinson, all diseases that have an emotional basis, definitely, but also have a very strong physical counterpart, which is devastating when we look at the results. But when we look at what we can do, and I'm just going to run through it real fast, this is not a scientific idea. It's something to give, practical information. When we talk about oils, and one of the most beautiful oils, there are a couple that I love. One is frankincense. Now, frankincense or the Boswellia species has a very complicated chemical composition, but it works in our brain in a very, very important manner. Because, for example, there's science that says it helps work to modulate the dopamine production of our brain. Now, dopamine, for anybody who has somebody sick in Parkinson, knows that that is one of the main problems. Now, I use it with my patients to help them do what? For example, taking it, and you have to be very, very careful with essential oils. You've got to know where they come from, how they've been extracted, the purity, the content of the essential oil. So it's not something that you just do on your own. Basically, please look out for or step up to a certified aromatherapist or drop me an email, whatever. For example, a drop of essential oil of frankincense under your tongue. Now, I give it to my patients anywhere from 3 to 4 times a day, 1 drop. You don't need any more than 1 drop. And they start seeing a remarkable recovery, for example, in walking and movement and control of their movement. They start seeing a change in the stiffness. They start seeing a change in their attitude. And that is just amazing because we cannot reach out on that on a pharmacological basis. Do they interrupt their pharmacological therapy? Absolutely not. In fact, we're talking about complementary in this case, because essential oils can do a lot, but they do have their limits. And for example, I've also integrated, and this is on a topical basis instead. You put it on various areas where you've got a nerval exposition, for example, behind your occipitum or behind your jawbone or your temples. I use a lot, for example, vetiver. Vetiver is a beautiful oil that allows our nervous system to control spasms, tremors, voluntary or involuntary, especially involuntary. There are explanations on how this happens, clinical research. And I'm not going to get into that because that's not what we want to talk about. We want to have people understand where they can look to get some help. Now, just think, my dad was a Parkinson patient. So it was very important for me to be able to use essential oils. And it was, very difficult because when he would take a glass in his hand, he would be doing this and he wouldn't be able to drink. And he'd try and he'd spill it all over himself. Now, there's psychological implications on that. Think of a person, he was a director for various companies in the United States and South America and Canada. And all of a sudden, he couldn't even drink a cup of coffee, or he couldn't get out of bed without any help. And that brought him out to having anger fits, rage. And naturally, where did it all end up on the family? Well, with the essential oils, we started to help him with the tremors and the stiffness, and he started to be able to walk again without assistance, without even a cane. I have a patient in Switzerland. She's okay. My dad passed away many, many years ago, but I have a patient recently in Switzerland. Recently, it's already 4.5 years that I'm treating her. And we've come down with a therapy for her her problem. She was, at the time, 42 years of age with an medium to advanced Parkinson's state. And that's a very young lady. And she would walk into my studio with her cane, just about making it. Well, after about a month, she started walking without the cane. Her doctors were flabbergasted. And it was not a cure. It was a help, because there was a problem at one point that we weren't able to get the frankincense when she had finished it. And she started going backwards in her cycle. So when she reintegrated the frankincense, she recovered. So that means the essential oil has an effect, but it does not cure. It helps the body to do what the body needs to do to make us feel better. And then she had a beautiful little dog. I love dogs, and I love to see them play with their owners. And it was so touching, because for the first time, she was out playing, throwing the ball to the dog and running around, moving around quickly with the dog. After about 3 months, naturally, on an emotional side, mental side, she felt better. She was able to get back to doing her job. And after 3 months, I met her at a country festival in Switzerland. And I was saying, "Oh, you came to do line dance?" She said, "No, I'm going next door because there's the teacher that's teaching me salsa." And she started dancing. So imagine on a mental status, her social impact, her emotional impact, the family. And that was just with frankincense. I didn't use anything else on her, plus her therapy. Then and I can continue. When I work in the hospitals, for example, I've taught people how to do a very simple hand massage with people with dementia, Alzheimer, reactive people, what we call the wanderers, those that walk around, never stop. They can't stand still, people who have sleeping disorders. Okay, now you can use various oils that can go anywhere from bergamot to lemon to lavender to melissa. And all you have to do is actually put a drop or two maximum, rub it in the hand and start just massaging very delicately. It's a touch massage. And you can teach it to anybody. I've taught it to children of 6 years old that do it to the grandma. Now, besides the fact that their reactivity, we've lowered it to about over 60%. So they are much more treatable. And, one of the biggest problems with the people that have these mental problems is that they're reactive. Why? Because they're angry and they can't express it. So they'll react physically. And that creates a problem for the caregivers. How do you take care of a person who doesn't want to be helped? Well, with these essential oils, like I said, they lower, for example, lavender, thanks to the linalool and linalool acetate. I have to put some science into it, I'm sorry, but it allows them to relax, have lower anxiety, have a lower reactivity status. And we have another point. The family members who come talking about mental stress and mental problems, family members who come now have something to do with their family members. And they start having a new type of relation. And I'm going to just close in on this because there's one beautiful example. A lady came in with a husband. He was from the German Swiss area. He came to the hospital and he had to be hospitalized because he had a severe case of dementia. And he became violent with her, verbally and physically. And she was devastated. She said, we've had 30 years of a beautiful marriage, and to see him in this status. And we started treating him with bergamot oil and diffusing various other oils. Bergamot was a physical, and besides lavender in the evening. And we taught her how to do these massages, the hand massage. And in the beginning, she said, yeah, well, what is a hand massage going to do? I said, try it. Our experience says this. Well, after 1 week she came, I was sitting in the cafeteria, and she came over, sat down, and she started crying, saying, it's amazing. I started the hand massage, and after 3 days, he stopped beating me up verbally. He started re-talking again as much as he could. Verbal expression for a person with dementia is a big problem, but he was able to connect with her. Now, eventually he passed away after a year, but I saw her at the funeral and she said, this year that we passed together, yes, it was difficult because naturally he was going down, but we still were able to have a wonderful connection. On a mental status for him and for her, it was fundamental. Now, these are just some moments, and I want to just give this one message. There is nothing miraclistic. We are talking about chemistry. We are talking about one of the most strongest remedies nature has given us, which are essential oils. We are talking about science. So this is what we want to do with this educational platform. We want to talk about the science, which comes from nature. And unfortunately, for many, many reasons, and let's not get into that, they don't want us to know about it.
Yeah.
But this is the beautiful part. We're gathering together with my colleagues, and we're trying to send you this information. Thank you very, very much. And Dr. Parvin, it goes back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Steve, as always. Yes, that was awesome. Yes, we are coming together from different views, different modalities that we bring it to people that if the most available and modality to them, they can reach out. So as everybody knows, I'm a homeopath. So homeopathy has been my medical modality for over 20 years. And I've been practicing it. And I had hard cases have come to me during my practice. I treated several suicidals. I treated schizophrenic, bipolar, all those terminology which I really do not like to use. But honestly, in my practice, I learned a lot through my practice about homeopathy. So when you come from a school, you just come with a bunch of literature, but you learn a lot about your modality through your practice. And I realized how amazing homeopathy is. As we all know, healing is a principle that is endowed in every single human being by nature. So we are not healers. We are just having giving a mechanism to people in order to activate their own healing abilities and to heal themselves. But our modalities as natural practitioners is based on healing principles, based on concept of cure and all the natural laws. And that's why we are here to teach it, to educate people about it, and also to teach the other practitioners not to violate these natural laws. So as I mentioned, I have a lot of hard cases. I think in one of the meeting prior, I kind of mentioned to two suicidal that I had, how beautifully they recovered with homeopathic. And as you guys know, gemotherapy is a complementary modality to homeopathy, and I've always been using it since day one. So we know emotions are our survivals. Emotions are created to kind of give us the ability to kind of cope with the situation. And I always say, brain never creates disease. Brain always responds to disease and manifests the disease, such as Dr. Steve said, for example, in Alzheimer's, when the disharmony or the disease moves to the past the blood-brain barriers and can cause a lot of distractions in the brain. But brain did not create Alzheimer. Brain did not create Parkinson. Brain is also always responding to the situation and to the problems in order to keep us survive at any cost and at any given moment. So I do not want to get into the mechanism or to the education of the why we are creating some form of emotion such as depression or anxiety, which we know the human being has only one disease with countless manifestation of disease. When the disease or disharmony or chaos or internal war, it goes much deeper to the system, it comes to the mind. So the mind is just altered, is altered at any situation. Mind is altered with pain. Mind is altered with words, with disrespectful situation or negative news, good news, with excitement, with anything that you receive through your perception, the mind is altered. So, but it does not mean the mind creates disease. Mind is just altered in order to calibrate, in order to bring you into harmony and balance. That's the brain's job. Brain is your God-given or nature-given governor. So it never creates disease because the brain's job is to keep you alive at any given moment with any costs. So that's why never ever blame the brain and never medicate the brain for any form of mental disorders. So first of all, as I said, mind is not creating disease. Disease is only one which the whole human being is one unit. When one part of the body is presenting the disease or manifesting the disease, means the whole body is not at ease, means the whole body is not functioning properly. So at this point, we have to, as a natural practitioners, we have to treat the whole person. That's why homeopathy is all about. We treat the whole person, we treat the whole unit. There is no separation between the mind and the other rest of the body, between the mind, brain, and liver, or lungs, or kidneys. There is no such a thing. That's why in any condition, the patients comes to me, I treat them as a whole. But the whole has parts as well, so I call them pathways. When the mental can, as I said, the mental mind alteration conditions come to me, because I really don't like to call them mental disease, because there is no such mental disease. The brain doesn't create disease. For example, let's talk about depression and anxiety. So depression and anxiety, there are two extreme poles of one phenomena. It's one thing, but it's a different degree of one emotion. Becomes hypoactive, the body goes through depression. The body becomes hyperactive, or the mind becomes hyperactive, the body goes through present anxiety. It's all about bringing hyperactivity is all designed this way in order to bring the body into balance and homeostasis. But the problem is, anytime the body becomes hyper, presents such as anxiety or panic attack, unfortunately, they suppress it. They suppress it by suppressive medications, and the body has no choice to go to hypo. And then the hyperactivity also is going to be suppressed with the same form of suppressive medications. And that's how the mind gives up. There is no way that the mind can bring the body into homeostasis. That's why I'm absolutely against this kind of treatments, because as I always say, leave the brain alone. Brain is just presenting it. Go to the other part, go and find the primary site of the disease, and find the underlying causes of disease, and remove the disease. And then the presentations or symptoms or manifestation, they're going to go away. They're going to be removed on their own. So that's why people, when they come to me, they, for a long time, they have been on the one state of hyperactivity or hypoactivity. That's why they create a lot of different symptoms, such as weight gain, insomnia, sluggishness, losing confidence, and they are labeled by bipolarity and so many different terms. But these are all one. These, no matter the names and no matter the presentation, is only one disease. So our job is to find that disharmony, that internal disharmony. So that's why a homeopath job is very, very hard to find this, where the disharmony is located. So it's hard to explain it, but when you are mastering your job, your profession, is not a hard thing to do. I like to talk about the brain that, for example, the limbic system. As we know, brain is an electric device, is a sophisticated emotional network. Nature has given it to us to navigate us. We need whatever is created by brain in order to go through life. So there is a group of evolutionary interconnected structure located deep within the brain, which are responsible for our behavior and emotional responses. We know that what they do, they facilitate memory storage, retrieving memory, and establishing all emotional states. And also, they link the conscious and intellectual functions of our cerebral cortex with the unconscious mind, or autonomic functions of the brain stem. In so many conditions, such as schizophrenic, for example, in advanced cases, this link is missing. So this link is missing. The hardest job for homeopath to bring this link back. Sometimes is impossible, but most of the time it's possible to bring this missing link back. As we know, for example, in a very schizophrenic, for example, cases, those people do not smile. Those people do not show any emotions. They're very indifferent. There's no apathy or empathy. And also sometimes it drives them to suicidal state, and because all these pathways in the brain are blocked. I would like to talk about pathways, but I'm going to do it after I give the floor to Dr. Rosenberg to talk about gemotherapy, how you treat emotional, imbalances with gemotherapy. Then I come back to my talk about brain pathways. So Dr. Rosenberg?
Yes, I will speak in this evening about the possibility to use different natural therapies in the treatment of depression, one of the most difficult to treat mental disease. I will share my screen. Yes. It's okay?
Yes,
You see?
yes, yes.
Good, I will extend. My presentation is about the possibility to use different natural therapies in the treatment, for the treatment of depression. Every day, the mind of majority of persons emits about 30,000 thoughts, the vast majority of which are negative, being related to the problems they had in the past, starting with the years of childhood, and the worries, insecurity, and fear with which they face the future. In this trip between everyday trip between past and future of our thoughts, the most important is the power of now. Now, which is very well described by Eckhart Tolle, a German origin philosopher, but who lives in Canada. From a psychological point of view, negative thoughts have a destructive effect on us, which inevitably lead to some mental illness, unfortunately very present in our day, like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and so on. We are witnessing an alarming increasing case of dementia, among which Alzheimer's disease is the most common, Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, sclerosis multiplex, different forms of asthenia, and so on. Some words about the power of suggestion and auto-suggestion. The methods of mental self-control, like Silva method, yoga, different form of meditation, really a lot on the power of suggestion and auto-suggestion, which make us think positively, optimistically, if it's possible, confident in our strengths, and through which we can overcome the difficulties and the problems of our lives. Stress is really a risk factor for many diseases, and here is necessary to mention the father of stress, C.N.H.C, the well-known Canadian researcher who works the most part of his activity at the University McGill in Montreal, but he was his origin was from Austria and Hungarian. His father was Austrian and her mother Hungarian. He emigrated in Canada and developed here a lot of very important researches about stress. About 80% of the disease of our century are caused by stress, which is the strongest factor in triggering various diseases, like cardiovascular disease, various forms of cancer, gastrointestinal disease, mental disorders, and the list is very, very long. Increasing 1 of 5 people in the world suffer for depression during their life. 20% of the people of the world suffer of depression because this disruption of balance, increasing mental pressure, brings depression, anxiety, insecurity, lack of confidence in one's own abilities, isolation, very typical for our day. Most of us go through episodes of depression several times in our lives, which we treat or not. Which we are aware or not, and from which we spontaneously emerge or sink like in a deep well. Some symptoms of depressions, you know, everybody know very well these symptoms of depressions, like pathological sadness, moral pain, self-devaluation, pessimism, disinterest, anxiety, insomnia, anorexia, sometimes constipation, and in several forms of depression, suicidal tendencies are common. Current treatment of depression by allopathic medicine. Depressions are classified into mild, medium, and severe. The medium and severe ones require mandatory psychiatric treatment given by a psychiatrist who will use antidepressant, very, very strong drugs, and psychotherapy. Psychotherapy conducted professionally by a clinical psychotherapist is really effective. The power of word is really effective in treating depression in all its forms and avoids the patient's relapse into these conditions. But I want to present to you some natural therapies utilized in the treatment of depressions, like phytomedicinal plants, phytotherapy, aromatherapy, essential oils, apitherapy, bee products, homeopathy, very efficient, diet therapy, music therapy, various forms of massage, and so on and so on. Some plants, because medicinal and aromatic plants have an important role in the treatment of this mental problem, mental disease, depression. First of all, I want to mention a plant, a very common plant, St. John's wort, with scientific name is Hypericum perforatum, which contains a lot of active principles, volatile oils, polyphenolic derivatives, tannins, choline, carotenoids, and so on and so on. But the most important for the treatment of depression is hypericin. Hypericin, this is the chemical structure of hypericin. And recently it has been shown to have a positive, this substance, active substance from Hypericum perforatum, have a positive effect in mild cases of depression, nervous fatigue, in sleep disorders, and hypericin active in a similar way to a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, antidepressant, and hyperforin, which another important active substance for this plant, which appears to have a beneficial influence on serotonin activity in the brain. Another important and interesting plant, medicinal plant, not only medicinal, but also is an alimentary plant, hops, Humulus lupulus, scientific name, fight against insomnia, and also is utilized against anorexia, lack of appetite, which is one of the possible one to be one of the symptoms of this disease, mental disease. The volatile oil from the composition of hop cones gives the plant its sedative action, sedative effect. And lupulon and humulon act as a bitter tonics, being stimulants of gastric secretion. Phytotherapeutic preparations, medicines obtained from hops reduce the excitability of nervous system, having neurosedative and antispasmodic effects. Cava cava, Piper metisticum, the name of this plant, these have anxiolytic effect. Extracts from the plant, cava cava, which contain cavalactone, like active principle, develop anxiolytic effect, which leads to increase the sleep quality, very important, are also spasmolytic, muscle relaxant, and anticonvulsant effect. It's possible to use the combination of this medicinal plant in different pharmaceutical form for the treatment of the symptoms of depression. Passiflora incarnata is a very nice ornamental plant also, but an important medicinal plant that improves sleep. The aerial parts of this plant have sedative and tranquilizing properties on the central nervous system. By using the tincture and the liquid extracts of this prepared with this raw material, with these medicinal plants, we obtain phytotherapeutic drugs with good sedative, calming effect, useful for inducing sleep. Valeriana officinalis, we utilize the root of these medicinal plants, which are indicated in states of nervous agitation manifested by insomnia, nervousness, motor and sensory hypersensitivity, visceral disorders, for example, cardiac neurosis, and so on. For the treatment of depression, it's possible to utilize a large scale of essential oils. I indicate the treatment is person for every patient. I indicate only some essential oils which is possible to use for the treatment of a different form of depression. Rose oil, geranium, grapefruit, tangerine, neroli, lavender, bergamot, sandalwood, and so on and so on. The list is very, very long, and personalization is characteristic for the treatment of patients which suffer of depression. The same aromatherapy, massage, it's a combination of the therapeutic effects of different essential oils with relaxing relaxing massage or tonifiant massage, depend of the situation of the patient, combine synergistic these two natural therapies, aromatherapy with therapeutic massage. I don't want to enter in this presentation because only to present some homeopathic remedies prescribed in different cases of depression: anacardium, arnica, aurum, ignatia, sepia, chimichifuga, lachesis, and so on. Or the list is very long and depend of each patient, depend of each person. Yes, it's the personalization of the treatment. Here in homeopathy, don't exist therapeutic plans for hundreds of persons. Each person will receive a personal, if each patient will receive a personal treatment. This is very, very important in this therapeutic form. Detoxification of the body with a healthy diet is also an important part in the treatment of a patient with these mental problems. Detoxification baths respond to an essential requirement of modern life, restoring the body's balance. This balance is subjected daily to several risk factors, like ultra-processed foods, alcohol, smoking, which is a really great problem, drugs, household products and cosmetics made from toxic substances, air and water pollutants, and the list is very, very, very long. Music therapy is efficient in this mental problem, mental disease. Melotherapy through the vibration produced by some musical pieces, including someone specially created for this purpose, can modify the brain waves and heart rate, thus contributing to improving the condition of a patient suffering from depression, anxiety, panic attacks. The classic music of Vivaldi, Chopin, Mozart, Tchaikovsky, and so on is very good for the soft treatment of depression. Some conclusions: these soft therapies with new natural valencies, ensuring a faster, a more effective cure of depression. By combining these complementary treatments, important to realize, after my opinion, therapeutic mix with synergistic effects. Patients which receive this complementary therapies can be prevented from falling back into depression, a fairly common phenomenon in people suffering from this disease. Through these natural methods, the self-healing processes existing in our body and in our mind are stimulated, and thus we will become more emotionally stable and stronger in our permanent fight against stress. And before to say thank you for your attention, I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2023. May your heart and your soul be happy from January 1st to December 31 next year. All the best for you.
Wow, thank you very much, Dr. Rosenberg. Awesome.
Great.
Great.
With great pleasure.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I would like to talk a little bit about definition of expert in the house, right? It's the biological definition of depression. Depression, the definition means everything is getting low. It's the lowest level. Normally, recession comes first. Then when the recession is not at rest, then turns to depression. So what happens when the body goes through depression? It means it has no adequate essential nutrients or raw materials to make new molecules, such as enzymes, hormones, neurotransmitters, to repair tissues, duplicate new cells, new muscles, bones, and tissues, everything. So the biological definition of depression, in my view and perspective, it means every essential nutrient already gotten low. So it means that there is a cellular starvation or chronic deficiencies due to long-term intoxications, internal toxins, external toxins, pollutions, water, food, and everything, or even cellular oxidations. So when that happens in early phase, normally the internal organs, as we know, the whole body is one unit. They're all supposed to work harmoniously, respecting each other's functions. They all know their jobs intelligently. Liver knows its jobs, pancreas knows its jobs, the lung knows its jobs. Nobody is going to interfere with anybody's jobs. So in early phases of, for example, depression, the internal organs, because there is a cellular deficiency, there is a cellular starvation in depression. They borrowing nutrients from each other. So, for example, liver borrows from kidneys, pancreas borrows from digestive system, heart borrows from lungs in a very intelligent way, not to kind of damage or distract other organs' functions. I call them a friendly group survival cooperation and collaboration. So that's why it happens in a very first stage of depression, a very friendly kind of cooperation and collaboration. But when depression is not at rest on time, so in advanced phases, what's going to happen? It's still cellular starvation and deficiency is not addressed, still intoxications is not removed, then the organs, the same organs now started rubbing each other instead of respecting each other and friendly borrowing things from each other. It's going to attack each other and robbing from each other, liver from kidneys, kidneys from lungs, and so on. I call it a non-friendly individual survival action. Now is a time, because every single organ has its own intelligence, has its own mind. Now it's time that they want to survive. The collaboration, the harmony, homeostasis is already being destroyed. So
Absolutely.
as a non-friendly individual survival action, I call them. So as I have it in my book, depression, like any other chronic condition, is caused by cellular starvation or chronic cellular deficiency, cellular intoxication, and adequate life energy flow at the cellular level that cause ultimate internal war and disharmony. Depression on the surface present as a hypoactivities, but within is an internal war and disharmony. I just wanted to have a comment on
Yes.
the word of depression. I hope that you guys are agreed.
Depression after me, because I have a very bad 3 years when I was in depression. Yes, yes, after a burnout 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, I suffer of this disease. Is when depression very shortly, when the power, mental power die for a short period, or eventually for years, or for every time. It's very, very difficult, the treatment, and the conditions are auto-suggestion is very important. Is the moment if when we realize that we are able to come out from this blackout. This period is very, very important. Also, different natural therapies are very important. By this activity, autosuggestion is very, very important, after my opinion. In collaboration also with a good specialist in psychologist. Yes,
yes,
it's
absolutely. Absolutely. When it comes to any form of mind alteration, which is caused by the one internal disease, that the disease already deepened. When the disease comes to the mind, it means it's already deepened, it's already moved to the most advanced phase. So that's why it becomes very chaotic. And that's a reason of my treatment. I always address all the pathways in the body, endocrine pathways, from brain pathways, such as hypothalamus, pituitary gland, limbic system, brain, gut, stomach, pancreas pathways, which is the most important pathway when you want to treat depression or any form of mind alterations. This brain, gut, stomach, pancreas pathway is the most crucial pathway that should be addressed. So we all know that the neurotransmitters, that is all running the pathways in the brain. So no matter how much you work on those pathways in the brain, and you don't address the disharmony and the fight and non-collaborative form of situation between the organs or pathways, there is no way you can remove the disease, because the problem is not in the brain. So brain liver pathways is one of the very most important pathways in depression or any mind alteration, the hepatic system. And brain and kidneys pathways. Actually, I found that the most important pathways to treating the mental disorder is the brain kidneys pathways, and I can talk about it hours. I have articles on it, and it's going to come out that how important brain kidneys pathway is when we do the treatment on depression or any kind of emotional, disorders.
It's very interesting. We're talking about physical pathways.
Yeah.
Now, if I take a look at it on a traditional Chinese medicine basis,
right,
we have physical energetical pathways that have to do with our so-called spirits, Shen,
yes,
which is very, very important. And therefore, whenever we do treat a depression or an ailment of this type, it is not just to be a specific treatment for depression, for the mind. It's got to deal with the energies of the body, and the energies divided in the two fields in traditional Chinese medicine, yin and yang.
Yeah.
Because if I'm burning too much, I don't have enough yang, and my yin will start coming up. Or if I'm too worried, my yin will start depleting because we're going to consume it, and the yang starts coming up. The two different phases of depression.
Yes.
So what is very interesting amongst us is the fact that we would be able to specify in different ways the same problem, address it in the same manner, because the reasoning is we are looking at the person with his problem, with his depression. And for every one of us, it has a different basis. And if we look at just the emotional side of the five-field therapy, five-field process in traditional Chinese medicine, it's amazing how every single emotion in that area has an influence on the type of depression that the person is living. So this is where complementary and integrative medicine comes in very strongly, and it's one of the points where it is a deficiency due to a mentality or the way of education of traditional medicine. In the universities, we are not taught anything about this. We've all discovered this outside of the university or the academic field, and it's an approach where we all have dedicated years and years and years of study. But now what we're starting to see is that they're coming out with, the mind-gut theory and so on and so forth, which is actually the scientific explanation of what natural medicine has been saying for centuries.
Yes, absolutely. So
and let's remember one other thing. All natural remedies have a physical, an emotional, and an energetical side.
Sure.
Because all the remedies are exposed to the energies of the universe. You call it sun, you call it wind, you call it water, you call it earth, you call it whatever you want. But they mature, these remedies, through a cycle. And therefore, they allow our body to start restoring different types of cycles. And there are certain remedies, as Dr. Rosenberg would definitely agree, that we use in certain moments of the biological time chronology of the earth: spring, summer, winter, and fall, according to also their energetical composition and their energetical attitude. Because if I need to work on a liver, okay, I'm not only going to work on the anger, the rage. I'm going to work on, for example, problems coming in from the stomach area or the lung area. I'm going to work on the deficiency or the excess, actually, of fear, and so on. And this is all, part of antique traditions, be it traditional Chinese medicine, be it Ayurvedic, be it Tibetan, or be it medicine from the curanderos of Central America or the Siberian medicine. We're all talking the same.
Yes. Yes, great comment. So, yes, I was talking about pathways. Those pathways, they're very important. That all the pathways at the physical, mental, and emotional level. Definitely, Dr. Steve just mentioned, the human body has two major dimensions. One is a biological, physical dimension, and one is energy or dynamic dimension. And actually, the physical body is run by the dynamic, But when the physical body is not into alignment, when it's not into harmony, the energy body cannot do a good job. They have to come into alignment. We have to treat, the dimensions at the same time. That's how homeopathy works. Mm-hmm. So that's how homeopathic medicine works. It works at the dynamic level. It works at the subtle energy to bring these two dimensions always into alignment. So that's very, very crucial and important. Otherwise, there is no way we can remove the disease. These two bodies has to come into alignment. So we can do it with homeopathy, the Chinese medicine. I'm not expert on any other system of medicine. But as far as I know, homeopathy does a great job to bring in these bodies into alignment. But when it comes to physical body, that including the earth body or this biological body, mental body, and emotional body, which is a product of mental body, they're all physical. Because emotions are mental, is the brain is physical. But the dynamic body is completely different. But this mental, emotional, mental, and biological body, it has to come into alignment with energy body. Otherwise, there is no way we can bring harmony or homeostasis back. So that's why pathways are very important in order to bring all this emotional, mental, and biological into order, and then bring it into alignment with energy body, which is that the body knows it intelligently. We just have to redirect it. So it's not that we teach the body how to do it. There is no such thing. Is endowed by nature in every single human body, every single cell. They know it intelligently how to do it. We just have to redirect it and give it the raw materials that the body needs. Cleanse the body, bring back into harmony. That's our job. The rest, the body intelligently knows how to do it. Dr. Clark, I pass the floor to you. Yes, I think why you don't go first, next time.
I know. That's okay. Listen, as usual, this has just been an awesome experience. The knowledge I always, get and from everyone sharing is amazing. I am actually a family practitioner in the United States. My clinic is called Wellness Medicine, and I do, for the most part, have practiced traditional medicine. That's how I was trained. But just like Dr. Steve had mentioned, when you start opening up and there's some answers that aren't answered there, and you start looking into other realms, and you find this world where there are some of modalities that can actually help from a complementary standpoint of being able to assist even past what we get in traditional medicine. So I love the fact how we talked about, Steve said he helped people who have Parkinson's and also dementia with using essential oils. I am definitely going to be talking to you more about that so I can get more information just for myself and the treatment of my patients. And again, this is about really supporting the healing process of the body itself. So as you all always know, I kind of give my analogy of, I'm going to call it more going from outer space to inner space. So if you think about space again, you know, how vast and wide it is, and then you kind of see Earth, and then if you can envision yourself on Earth, and now if you can envision your body and your organs and the tissues and then the cells, and then you get down to the molecular level, and now we're at the subatomic level, and then when you get there, you go into space again. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the healing process, I always say we have a tendency of thinking about it being one-dimensional, but it's not. You know, there's an algorithm to it, you know, and it surely can. We surely can heal on different dimensions. I need to speak about the aromatherapy and how it's able to heal emotions. You know, we're talking about that atmospheric level. And then when we're talking about, as you'd mentioned, you know, being able to detox, looking at the organs and how they play a part in the healing process. And you know, I always say the homeopathy as well as the essential oils can actually get down into more of a subatomic level to where you're starting to really deal with the change on energetic levels to really be able to affect emotions. And I just love all the gifts that God has given us, bringing it to the table to be able to help others. So kind of what I want to talk about, and I like to share my screen. Give me a moment. And I'm still working on, you know, how to work all of these logistics. So, you know, just bear with me just 1 second. And I promise you, hopefully it will not take me much longer to figure this out and with my computer and the whole 9 yards. But while I am doing that, I do just kind of want to talk a little bit about, I like the fact that how we talked about disease processes, you know, and, you know, I think we ought to adopt something, you know, there really is such thing as disease, but a dis-ease in the body. That means you're having to do something different in order to keep yourself healthy. You're having to do something different in order to bring you into balance. And once you're really able to figure out what that is, and you do that particular thing, then you're going to feel better, you're going to do better, and most of all, you are going to be better. So that's one of the things I always encourage, and, you know, try to tell my patients, you know, whatever you think is at the end of when you're diagnosed with a certain, you know, like I said, disease process, it's not the end of the world. Matter of fact, it's just the beginning. And the beautiful thing about this beginning is now you're on this journey to healing that is going to be absolutely awesome. And you're going to be able to make an effective change in your life that is going to allow you to have a better life. So bad news is always not bad. I want to say bad news is actually good news in some ways, because now we are able to really define what issues we really need to work on, because now we know. So there you go. So here we go with the sharing, and I am sharing my screen. Okay, great. Yeah. So don't know if I can get this right. Ta-da. We're okay. Can you see?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So hopefully I can get to this, and I will not try to keep you very long whatsoever. But, you know, also another part of my organization I have is the Wellness Infinity Network, where I am the founder and the CEO of that, and loving that. You know, our vision is to enhance and impact industries, wellness, education, business, wealth, research, pretty much you name it. Our goal basically is we use education, testing, and procedures to find the window into an individual's health, to create optimistic, healthy communities, and focus on stress testing, chronic disease management, and lifestyle management. So this kind of gives you just a brief overview of some of the things that we do, but I'm not going to go into that. I don't know if I can get this link to work, and I cannot. And it is okay. But what I was going to share with this is one of the things that I actually did with a particular church in reference to dealing with lifestyle. I like to give that as an example, because when we're talking about mental health and when we talk about depression, you just did a great segue into one of the things I want to talk about. you know, it's our diet, it's where we are, it's our lifestyles at the moment that kind of really impact what we are and what we are experiencing as a being here on this earth. So when we are just focusing on just the physical being and we don't bring the mental being, you know, into play, we have already kind of lost the balance a certain way because we've segmented the person. There's not one person I know that walks into my office that brings the physical being and leaves the mental outside. They all bring it together. So I really feel more or less as surely in the primary care arena, there's a bigger opportunity for us to intervene from a mental health standpoint and being able to help diagnose and treat, being able to really make a difference in the issues we are having today as far as mental health. Another thing I like to say about mental health is that, let me go to something else. We are at a point where you just cannot talk about mental health and not just talk about depression. To me, depression is actually one of the better out of some of the other ones. So one of the things I will admit, being transparent in my practice, I don't think I've maybe, just for a lack of training knowledge was out there, been able to really signify a point to understand not all depression is depression. You know, you have the bipolar, you have schizophrenia, you have post-traumatic stress syndrome, and of course, as well as schizophrenia. So when we are talking about all of these issues, we have a tendency to focus on depression. And quite a lot of times I get invited to talk about depression. And it's almost as though we tend to say, oh, well, now we've talked about depression, so okay, now we got it. And we completely miss all of the other ones. And I do feel even in my own practice, I have also pretty much done that, focused so much on depression that I missed an opportunity to intervene in some of the other mental health issues as well. And why I'm bringing this up is because, once again, you know, one of the big things I actually am big on is actually doing tests. One of my mission statement is that, you know, wellness medicine, we are paving a pathway and building bridges to optimal health and wellness. We look for the latest and greatest technology to give us the best diagnosis. The best diagnosis is going to give us the best treatment plan, and the best treatment plan is going to give the patient the best outcome. So you cannot get the best treatment plan if you do not have the right diagnosis. So the next segment I'm going to go into is something that I'm actually using to help me get the right diagnosis. Because when I get the right diagnosis, then I can really go to all of these fabulous new entourages that I have in my my cabinet at the moment, to be able to bring it to the table to really get the person to their best. And I actually like what you said, Dr. Parvin, of how pretty much you don't really separate them, you kind of group them all together. But at some point, we have to understand what it is that we're grouping so that we can be able to bring the person up and out of whatever it is. So one of the things I actually do is more or less the M3 checklist. And this allows me to have a 3-minute test, believe it or not, in my office that actually looks at depression, anxiety, bipolar disorders, post-traumatic stress syndrome, as well as substance abuse, suicidality, and functional impairment. And why that is so important for in my world, because we only really have 15 minutes. We're not as privileged, you know, to be sometimes in practice where we can spend as much time or spend an hour with the patient. It just is what it is. So whenever I get something that's going to give me the most information, it's extremely helpful to me. And once I'm able to do that and get a diagnosis, then I can get the person to the right place. I'm really excited about what we're looking at doing, because I do see, as we're coming together and we're bringing this information, once I'm able to kind of do this, then boom, I have now a way I can be able to funnel them into other areas to get help, to be able to support themselves from a natural standpoint. and be able to help them have the best quality of life. I love this test because it's very user-friendly. You actually use it on your mobile device. It gives an instant interpretation. It really allows me as a practitioner as well as the patient to kind of have a platform right away to be able to talk about what's going on without me doing such a lengthy evaluation at what has usually been there. So I'm just going to advance on a couple of things. Very easy. And Dr. Randall Maxey, he's actually 118th president of the National Medical Association, really was the one who introduced me to this, and they're using this as a model. It has been used with the Veterans Hospital, and they've really had some great successes with that. So being able to again get that diagnosis really, really helps us in our arena to be able to start treating the patient in the right manner. I know I have missed bipolar. I know that. And if I haven't missed it, I'll tell you another thing that I know I have done. Kind of how I was trained is, well, first of all, you start by treating with depression. You use this medication. That doesn't work, then you go to this one. That doesn't work, then you go to this one. Okay, now by the third one, if that one doesn't work, all right, you might be dealing with bipolar disorder. Well, how much has the patient suffered before I can get a diagnosis? So now I'm much more empowered and I feel more comfortable in being able to, once I get my assessment done, it comes out of bipolar, I'm okay in moving right to a bipolar treatment process instead of the patient waiting and myself waiting to more or less get that information. So the power of knowledge, the power of being able to have, to me, a correct diagnostic opportunity. So again, it's 3-minute test. I think, yeah, just give you some quick samples. Some of the same things, you know, you feel sad, down, happy, dump, in the dumps, can't concentrate or focus, nothing seems to give pleasure. So they're more or less the same type of questions you give in the other questionnaires, but you get a psychological test right away. You're able to see that. You're able to really talk to the patient. This is what it looks like. You have something you can put in your charts, you know, that will be able to have you come back and to refer to later. They help you with the interpretation of it. It's like having a psychiatrist in the office without having a psychiatrist. I really, really enjoy this technology. We are actually getting ready to do more or less a campaign for this. And I wanted just to bring up the attention about screening depression in adults. You know, for us, the United Preventive Task Force has really kind of pretty much mandated that we do this for our patients when they come to the door. But again, once I will say this, it's been just focused on depression. And because of that, even myself, I haven't really focused on any of the other diagnoses. And I do feel like I have probably missed that opportunity. So in my walk and going forward, I want to do a better job of being able to pick up these other disorders and being able to intervene earlier with some of the great technologies and the great techniques and things that we've learned here. And also, I'm sure we'll be able to share going forward to understand that mental health is more than just depression. We're talking about depression, but it's more than just that. And let us be able to do our best to be able to bring the best so that our patients will have the best. So I'm going to go into just one other scenario that in my practice I also deal with, and that is, I like to talk about the autonomic nervous system. And when we talk about this disease process, you know, part of what the brain, the information you take in from any traumatic or dramatic situations, the autonomic nervous system is a part of your system that helps you to deal with that, to help bring you back into balance. So when we're talking about being able to balance out emotions, balance out thought process and things like that, we have to look at what the autonomic nervous system is doing. So I love that because it allows me to look into not only physical stress levels, but also mental stress levels as well. And once I'm able to actually get into that window, once again, I have an easier way of being able to open up a conversation with a patient about the mental health issue, because they don't always come to the door and tell you if that's the problem. And if we don't do that, and 50% of what I really do is related to stress levels and mental stress levels, we have missed that window. So a lot of what we're talking about that I really enjoy, when we're talking about complementary medicine, these are tools to me that really allow and help us to balance out the autonomic nervous system. So therefore, what I notice, when one is up versus the other, it comes with a set of symptoms. The parasympathetic being elevated is depression. Sympathetic being elevated is anxiety. When they're both aligned and balanced, the patient feels balanced and the patient feels good. So once again, thank everyone for all of the valuable and just great information that you're giving, because I really feel these are going to be great tools to help us go forward in helping us support our patients as well as ourselves in this disease process with depression and others, and be able to balance and help our bodies to be supported in its natural healing process. And once again, I'm Dr. Jolanda Clark, and it has just been such a pleasure to be able to be a part of this panel. Thank you. I am done. Okay, I can't hear
That
anyone.
was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's amazing. I know it's your area, and your your area is a little bit different than ours, right?
Yes.
But then you say that's for diagnosis, but
Yes.
in terms of treatments,
Yes.
what do you offer after you make your diagnosis? Because we as natural practitioners, we don't do diagnosis.
Right.
We're
Right.
relying on the patients and people that they, bring us the totality of symptoms and everything. So then we put them together, then we understand the person. We do not do diagnosis is to diagnose different organs or different tissues. So that's our understanding. But when it comes to your treatment, you said complementary treatments. What do you do in addition to your traditional practice?
I actually like to use Bach remedies, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, Bach remedies are.
Good.
I used to work with it, but I studied it too.
Rescue remedies are actually very, it's been great,
Mhm.
give that extra support, because once we like to start off with the non-serotonin inhibitor, uptakes and things like that. Those are
Yeah.
great too. Those are my go-to, especially for those who have anxiety, and of such. I really try to stay away from some of the older ones. Sure, like your tricyclic antidepressants. There's so much more newer and greater things that are on the horizon. I really also do like to encourage psychotherapy, okay? And I'm really big on doing my best to try to stabilize the patient as much as I can from a medication standpoint. And then as soon as I can, to get them in to see a counselor so they can start to talk about it, okay? And sometimes that works and sometimes that's not enough. But what it is, once we start opening up that door, wanting to make sure we're still on top of it, to not only get the patient the best opportunities for healing just besides medication, but giving them tools to be able to mentally process is extremely important too as well. Because a lot of times what happens is, when things happen, if you're not getting, you talk to friends, you talk to family, things like that, sometimes that's enough to get off your chest. But if you are really dealing with an issue that is affecting, as you would call it, more or less your psychological, and I would even say more or less your spiritual being, that's going to get you to a point where you're going to be affected physiologically. And at that point, we'll need to step in and be able to support with something more that may actually be able to chemically balance you out as well. So how I use my entourage and be able to do that, using antidepressants. I do use some anxiolytic, Xanax and things like that. I really am trying to stay away from that, because they definitely have such an addictive process. I am more than willing to be open to learning, surely, more things and more techniques that will get me to that process as well. And then of course, even, moving into treating bipolar disorders. And by that time, I'd mentioned before, I'm being very transparent. I'm probably having them see someone else. But right now, there's just such a deficit, even in patients being able to get into facilities and seeing doctors, seeing psychologists. I am looking for better ways to be able to do what I can on my end. So hope that kind of answers your question a little bit about how I go through my treatment process and using some of the other medications. I also like to recommend yoga. I'd recommend deep breathing. Actually, it's one of the first things I kind of start with. Ooh, just take a deep breath for 3, let it out for 3, and do it 3 times to reset the autonomic nervous system, stimulate the vagus nervous system. So therefore, that is one way to kind of help, more or less talking them through there, giving them some mental tools and getting them to the right help to be able to get those tools. And then if all else goes, making sure I'm getting somebody else who can help me figure the patient out as soon as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Clark, for elaboration. So I think we're going to team up to bring Dr. Clark more towards natural domain than traditional. I would like to have the closing remarks. Start with Dr. Steve. Just a minute closing remarks.
I basically think that this is going to be a great opportunity to actually put together our expertise and offer solutions that will deal with the personal problem of a disease. Whereas every type of disease is different according to the person. We do have basic baseline therapy, okay, but we also do have individual systemic therapy according to their way of life, habits, family, social entourage, and so on. Putting it all together, I think that we will be able to offer another view, which is more adequate than what pharmacology has been doing. Because if I look at, for example, dementia, for the last 10 years, there have been no drugs, no pharmaceutical breakthroughs. Whereas we do have alternatives, and that is also in Alzheimer and depression and many more. So that is what I think our strive should be. And I really appreciate having you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Steve. Dr. Rosenberg, do you have a few words to say?
Yes, only I think it's a very good idea, the extension of your Canadian health education project to be an international project. And I think I am in relation with a lot of persons which work in complementary and alternative medicine all over the world. And I will connect some of these who want to collaborate in this voluntary project. I think it's possible to create an international, a global health education project in natural therapies, in integrative medicine, for to present the positive, the real, correct, scientifically well established results of traditional therapies in comparison with allopathic therapy, because allopathic medicine is absolutely dominant all over the world, and important to present the positive, correct, realistic aspects of different complementary methods, because every therapy have possibilities and limits. Not don't exist therapies which offer all the to cure to treat all the disease. Therapy is like a ball, a nice ball, with a lot of possibilities. Yes, I think it's a good chance to collaborate worldwide in this health education project.
Definitely.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Dr. Rosenberg. That was great. Yes, when
I
it comes.
appreciate.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, definitely. We started it, and it's moving greatly, and definitely, you know, with your help, we're gonna make it happen. And this is, as I with myself and Dr. Steve, we already mentioned, this is for the public. So we have another
Absolutely.
platform. We have another platform. Is a paid platform for the experts, for practitioners, for doctors. We are having it like 3 times or 4 times a year. But this is strictly for the public.
The public.
That's why
Health education.
It's
Educational
raising
platform.
awareness, and yes, raising awareness, and it's an educational platform to teach people about health and natural health and healing. So as Dr. Rosenberg said, definitely every modality has its own spot. We don't claim that, for example, homeopathy can cure everything. First of all, no modality cures anybody.
No.
Only the person cures himself. We have the mechanism. It's a mechanism, it's a tool we give to people in order to heal themselves. So there is no such a thing that we are healers here and we just do miracles and we give, through the medicine to people and the people are going to get cured. No, that's the whole purpose of us being here, in order to educate people that healing process, healing principles, concept of cure, is naturally endowed in every single human body by nature. We are here to just assist the nature. We are nature's assistants. We are not healers. And homeopathy, as much as I have so much faith in it, it doesn't mean that can cure broken bones immediately. No, they have to go to hospital, then they get it into cast. They come back to me for bones reunion and the pain or inflammation or something. Or for example, anaphylactic shocks, for example. Somebody just called me like a few months ago. He said, oh, my daughter went through anaphylactic shock. Can we run it to your clinic? I said, no. Take it to hospital.
Quickly.
The medical doctor has to take care of anaphylactic shock, but because it's related to her nervous system and immunity, then after that you're going to bring her to me, then I'm going to work on it, which I have been doing it. So, and hopefully she's going to be anaphylactic shock free for the rest of her lives. But it doesn't mean that there are a lot of times that they're not candidates for my modality. They're not candidates for allopathic modality. But when it comes to chronic diseases, or chronic disease as a whole, allopathic model has nothing to offer. There is nothing to offer from allopathic model. This is something that we all know. But when it comes to trauma, acute emergencies, surgeries, or those that I mentioned already, or handful infectious diseases, allopathic has its own place. But unfortunately, they monopolize the whole medical system, and they became dominant, and they overlook the other natural modalities. Absolutely. That's a problem. That's why we are here to tell people, listen, there are answers in different medical modalities that you can find your answer to your problems. But that's a
Yeah.
problem with the medical, and I appreciate Dr. Clark be here and have faith in us, that be part of us, and to come to share, you know, whatever she has to offer, which is highly appreciated. We need more of you. We need more, and we have done it the past decade. Actually, we have done great job. Actually, we've brought a lot of allopaths who have conscience, who do not want to violate their oath, who wants to help but no harm. They join us. They join humanity. They join the right system of medicine, which is, you know, I always say the system of the medical system is like a pie. Everybody gets a piece.
Sure.
Dr. Steph has its own piece. Dr. Rosenberg has its own piece. Maya and Dr. Clark. But unfortunately, allopathic wants the whole piece and say, don't touch it. Don't touch it. We have to go under. We always have to go under to get our piece out. It doesn't work this way. This is against our practice oath, our medical oath, you know, and also the what you call it, the freedom of choice. The medical freedom of choice. Let people have freedom to choice. If somebody comes to me and say, I prefer Dr. Steve, I say, I appreciate you that you prefer Dr. Steve, that has he's expert in that modality. So we cannot be possessive.
Right.
There's one thing that just came to my mind while you were talking, Dr. Pavin. You know, we talk about famine in the world, hunger, okay? Well, I like to put it this way. What we're doing is we're trying to nourish and feed the people with something new, with something old, with something wise. So this is what it's all about. We are nourishing something that is going to rise up. And at that point, like a person decides that he prefers, you know, Italian food or French food or whatever, they will come and choose from the menu that we're offering that will bring them not far away, but bring them into another dimension where they will understand the sentence, only you can heal yourself. We can nourish your healings.
Yes. Yeah. As I said, we are nature's assistants. We're not, even as you always mention, doctors means educators, means teachers, means teach people how to heal themselves. But a good mechanism, it's, you know, we try to offer, but the choice is people's. If somebody comes to me and say, no, I want to go on antidepressant, you know, allopathic antidepressant, definitely that's their choice to do.
Zombie, become zombie.
You go become zombie, right? That, as I always say,
after some weeks.
Emotions, no matter in one is a hypo state or hyper state, never ever should be suppressed. Never should be prevented with any mechanism. Actually, it should be encouraged. It should be supported, but only be neutralized. Only the charge of the emotion, which is, as we know, emotions, the same as toxins, they have negative charges that they're going to bond with positive minerals in the body, and they make you deficient for life. So, and also through detoxification, a lot of nutrients has to be bound with the toxin in order to make it non-toxic. So it's a lot of things about it. But the thing is, that emotions should not be suppressed at any time, acutely or chronically. I'm not criticizing traditional medicine, because whoever went and become a doctor, it always had a calling, and they always wanted to help one way or another. But unfortunately, we blame the training, we blame the system of, the model, not the medical doctors. Medical doctors, they went with heart and soul to come out in order to help, but they're coming out and harm. They, for the 120 years, they're harming and harming and harming people unknowingly. But that we are here to say, listen, there is another thing that you can,
They can do.
switch over or bridge over or adapt to it, or just try to minimize the harm to humanity.
Dr.
I'd
Clark.
like to make two. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
No, after you, go.
No. No, you were gonna.
No, I was saying, please.
Yeah.
There are 2 points I actually want to make that I kind of missed. And first off, I really appreciate the value of, the training here, because as you're saying, we don't get that. And the other beautiful thing is, I can tell you there are other physicians, like myself, who are like-minded, who are definitely interested in learning more and being able to support this community of practitioners who really want to offer other alternatives, and surely complementary, to what it is, because who wants to really be on medications, forever? Where is the imbalance, and really being able to find that and address that. So one of the things that I really forgot to mention of what I'm doing in treating the patients, when I talked about the lifestyle change, that lifestyle change is changing the diet. So definitely eating more raw fruits and vegetables. I say raw fruits and vegetables, lean meats and fish. There's some out there that go completely plant-based, that I got in it. That probably is the best way to go. Some of us may be still struggling with that, but really, really paying attention to your organic foods. If you're going to eat meat, make sure it's clean meat, free of hormones, wild raised. That is definitely the best way to go. And just what you're saying, we have to feed our cells. We have to give it what it needs to be able to heal itself.
Yes.
The phytochemicals in vegetables is what that is. So if you do not eat that, you will not have that, and you will definitely develop chronic disease processes. The second thing I wanted to mention, and each time I probably don't do a very good job of explaining this, and Dr. Parn, I can talk to you more on the side. The test that I do is more of a screening test, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Patel with Virtual Clinic MD, it is actually a site developed for non-traditional practitioners. So that if you feel you want to steer your patient in that direction, you do want more, you want the patient to have more information, not that you're diagnosing, but you want the patient to have more information. They can actually go on the site and be able to take these screening tests and order these tests, and then of course bring the results back to you. And it is backed by an MD, so therefore it does have that reading for it, and it will be the diagnosis on their part, but you'll be able to get them information, and they will be able to have the information. So in this community of physicians that actually are supporting that website are the ones I know will be more than interested to hear more about all of these complementary activities. So the movement started, we're already engaged, and so excited to be a part of it and be able to share.
Yes, welcome to international movement. This is something that I think we are liable for this generation and next generations. Yeah. Before, in this lifetime, I think we all should do it. And I appreciate it, really, I truly appreciate to join this movement. So this is for the betterment of humanity, because me, Dr. Steve, Dr. Rosenberg, Dr. Clark, we all have access to everything, the best of it, that we teach.
We change the world.
We teach it. My family, myself, we have access to the best homeopathic medicine, to the best of the best. But is it really the practice? No, we have to, it's not only the patients, people as well. So this is, I think, we are liable to bring it to everybody. So, and they're not just me, there's so many, you know, so many other modalities that it is more affordable, more accessible, or more approachable in around the world. So that's why we need practitioners from every single corner with different, you know, modalities to join us and bring it to people for free. So that's
I'm sorry. As Dr. Rosenberg was speaking, he was talking about all the things that, you know, he gives. But I actually saw him developing a depression package where you put a little bit of all that in there, you know, and, you know, that's your little complimentary package that is, you know, to help you support you in your healing process.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say the same thing, Dr. Clark. And I say, let's all of us come together and create something. For example, depression, anxiety, and come together. Myself, homeopathy, Dr. Steve, you know, aromatherapy, Dr. Rosenberg, gemotherapy, and Dr. Clark, your you know, modality together. So even if we integrate too, don't get us wrong, Dr. Clark, sometimes they are sometimes that even myself, I went through a terrible postpartum depression 20 some years ago. That's how brought me into homeopathy. So I was not responding whatsoever to allopathic you know, medications. I never ever responded to allopathic medication. I don't know whatever it was, a calling or something that brought me to this. But I mean, I still went for it. It's not that I did not go for it, but there are some times, you know, I say, like, for example, it's somebody went through a very acute trauma that is debilitating, is paralyzing the person. Homeopathy, it's amazing, doing amazing job, but it might not be a very, you know, first, you know, candidate for that person. They say, okay, you can go for maybe for 10 days, 3 weeks, or 6 weeks. You can do allopathic, you know, treatments, then come back to me, which I have done hundreds of those, you know, not everybody went with my kind of recommendations. They already went and got the allopathic medication, but after like a few weeks, they came to me and they wanted to go off. So these are something that we integrate as well. We're not saying that not forever or never. There are times, but to put them for the lifetime to me is a crime. It's not just not right, it's a crime that you put people for depression and anxiety, put them on a suppressive medication for lifetime, or thyroid medication for lifetime, or diabetes or blood pressure for lifetime. To me, is a crime. So, but for a short period of time, we integrate. Yes, calm it down. Whatever, if you're responding okay, then come back to us. We know what to do. So
exciting times coming.
We can create this, you know, we integrate. We are under the umbrella of integrative medicine, but we have our own philosophy, principles, and standards in regards to our platform. Whether, you know, so at this point, we have to understand where we're coming from. We have to understand exactly what the message is and what we want to do for the betterment of, you know, people's health and healing.
Right.
So
I'm going to drop that website in the chats just so you all can just, you know, browse through it and see, you know, what I was talking about, so we can all get this ball rolling and really bring our thought processes together to really help the world. Wonderful. There you go. There it is. Virtual clinic MD.
Yep.
Virtual clinic MD. So guys, if you as Dr. Clark just mentioned, to come up with something from each modalities, for example, for depression and anxiety, think about it. And if you think you want to do it, we can start, because we're all already, you know, we don't have to we don't have to create anything. We're all ready. The only thing that compatibility is very important to you know, to be compatible in terms of teaching it to the others. So, and then when we become bigger, definitely we invite practitioners and we teach the course. We teach, you know, that course is kind of multi kind of aspects. And we teach it. The way that I teach, the way that Dr. Steve and I created a course for anti-aging.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. We, and you know, this, yeah, we already created. He has his own way of teaching it, has own modality, and me, myself. And we worked on it. We worked on it for a while in order to be compatible. Homeopathy and aromatherapy to become compatible, and nothing is going to interfere, you know, another modality. So the same thing with us.
I'm going to put this out there because we kind of had some discussions. I'm very involved with the Virtual Clinic MD, and I know they will be interested in supporting this platform and probably have, you know, probably everyone pretty much at some point speak and be able to, you know, put together a presentation. So I'm putting that out there for them already, because like I said, it's a site to support, you know, non-traditional practitioners. So excited for everybody to come together. Yes.
I just want to make one last comment. This has to do with Dr. Clark. I think the value of a virtual clinic in our field will be for the younger generation, because I think between Dr. Rosenberg, myself, and Dr. Parvin, I would say we almost have about 200 years of experience.
Yes.
Combined.
So much.
Right.
Okay. Now, the educational program is also for professionals, and it's also for the younger generation.
Okay.
That they haven't touched into clinical and natural medicine as much as we have.
Yes.
So I feel that because I worked in the very beginning with bioelectronic systems to be able to have an analysis, okay, that was translated into traditional Chinese medicine system that I had developed. And for younger professionals to be able to access what is the, let's say, the assessment view of the patient will open up the doors, sparkling, according to me, if they're anything like me, what type of therapies can I use for this? Or what type of therapies can I use for that? So this is one part where I think it would be very interesting to be able to talk and understand exactly what is the type of assessment that a virtual clinic can give. And we can connect it according to the outcomes on what type of natural therapies and natural medicines people must look into. Because if there's a neurological problem, it's more this. And the combination of. So I think that's where virtual clinic could become a very good asset for the younger generations.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contribution, for your valuable talk. And it's just awesome. And hopefully we're going to get together again in 2 weeks. And I would like you to come up with a topic that it's you know, it's the topic that we haven't done it yet. So for the next 2 weeks, and it's going to be the same time, the same Saturdays at 12 to 2. And yes, and we are, Dr. Rosenberg, I wish that you can come to Telegram, to our group, that you can more in being.
I haven't Telegram, but you informed me. Thank you very much.
Okay.
By a message by LinkedIn.
Okay, that's with you. And you got to be in contact with Dr. Steve as well. So any new ideas, any new ideas, please let us know. Thank you so much again. Hope to see you all again in next 2 weeks.
Yes, and let's try to bring some colleagues.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Yes.
Each of us bring one.
We
I already
others.
brought a
least
Steve.
one.
Steve brought me, so we are even. Dr. Clark bring one.
I'm gonna invite Dr. Maxey, Dr. Randall.
Yes.
Randall
Yes.
Maxey, one that-
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much again.
Merry Christmas.
Okay.
See you in 2 weeks,
Okay.
and
Merry
then we'll also
Christmas.
say
Happy
Merry
holidays
Christmas
to all
and
of
Happy
you.
New Year.
Take care. Happy New Year. We see each other.
Happy New Year.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.